So today I want to share with you guys the SIPster story. Although there's one guy here, we say hipster and SIPster, but all together we are SIPsters. And the story that I'm going to share with you today is how we are helping local sustainability leaders move their cause. And so here are the SIPsters at the very bottom. I'll introduce them a little bit further, but I am going to take you through a bit of a story as we go through. But first, as like any story, when you very first open up your very first chapter, you want to acknowledge all the people who helped you as you kind of went along in your path. And I really do want to acknowledge Lisa Atkins, because Lisa and I have been working together for a while, and her and I have been chatting about sustainability and agility, and basically have been on this pathway of trying to create awareness around the world in terms of the work that we've been doing. And so she's been a great mentor, encourager for me, and I really want to thank her hugely with all my heart. And just a wonderful person to be there on your side to help you as you go through this. Rev and Carrie are two of my SIPsters who've been there since the beginning, and they just to have people who believe in you has been so beautiful to have those supporters who really make you feel like you can do it. So Rev and Carrie are those great supporters for me. And then, of course, all my angels and guides, they seem to come to me and wherever I turn, whenever I need that piece of wisdom to go further, I just want to thank them as well. So, and oh, by the way, this story, no animals have been hurt during the story and the creation of the story. Sometimes, I don't feed them on time, and sometimes they don't get as much walks as they like to, but you know what? No animals were injured. And those, by the way, are my two beautiful animals, Link and Zelda. But before we begin, this is my very first chapter. I want to let you know that I have a passion. My passion is with the unknown. So my whole thing is, and I've got such great curiosity, but this aspect of always trying to try out new things has always been with me. So I'm always curious about what where this pathway going to take me, what's beyond the fog, how cold the water is, like jumping into it, I have no fear. I won't say that I'm one of these people that will, camp on the side of some huge mountain and go to extreme sports, for example. But I do love the unknown, and I do love walking into it with just glee of, I don't know, let's just try it out, right? So that is indeed the passion, and it's the passion that's kind of brought me along, is my passion to kind of like just try it out and just have fun with it. So, where did it all begin? So for the SIPs themselves, Carolyn Suave has been just a great person and a colleague of mine. I've known her for a long time in the Agile community in Toronto. Carolyn is actually an author as well as part of the We Hope magazine. She was one of the very first people that I invited to kind of have be part of that particular magazine and share the story that she has. She is, if you've not seen the We Hope magazine, I'll share you a link with the We Hope magazine at the very end. But in the We Hope magazine, there's a lot of stories of all the Agilists around the world and what they're doing, and the impact they're actually making. So it's great, great stories, inspiring stories. Caroline is an Agile coach. She's been a coach. She was a developer. She has a background similar to me. So I have a software development background. But what she decided to do is that she decided to actually stop being a agile coach and start being like an organizational change coach, and working with sustainability clients. In her talk and in her article itself, she really talks about, I don't want to be building awareness. I don't want to be telling people. I want to be, getting them aware as to where agility and sustainability meet. I want to get my hands in it. I want everyone to make a step forward and do something with it. So Caroline really encouraged me to kind of like, okay, I've been collecting all these stories for the past like 4 or 5 years, not 4, 5 years, 4 years. So I've been collecting all these stories, and so I know it can be done, and I know collectively we can do this, and I know it's possible. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it where I'm at. I'm going to start at exactly with what I know, and in the community that I'm in. And that's exactly where I did it. So it was all through a dare, do it. And I got going and I did it. So, so this is where the first chapter starts, the great fail. So let me put it this way. I have a mentorship program, and this mentorship program has been running in Toronto since 2017. Over 500 members have gone through it. And so I thought, oh, you know what? I've got a bunch of people that I love in this mentorship program, and they would love to bring try out agility and sustainability. So I said, okay, guys, we're going to go 3 months. We're going to test it out, and let's just find a project, and then we're going to go see what small little slice that we can do. We're all agilists. We know how this works, how this all works, right? You give the constraint of 3 months, right? You kind of like take that, you look at the problem or the challenge, and you go down a small little slice, and you do something about it. And so I had all these theories that this is what's going to happen. So Rev, who is part of the very first group, she has her sister wanted or not. Her sister has a restaurant. A Rev actually wanted to make that restaurant more sustainable. So it was great. So we like, okay, we've got this project, we're gonna do it. We'll figure it out. We'll do the small little slice of it. But the whole thing is, it took us over 2 months to define what is sustainability. It took us like 3 months to kind of go through what's the first little step that we could actually take. And basically it was, in my mind, the great fail. I mean, I always say fail. Some people like to say, as agile as some of us like say, that wasn't fail. It was the learning. It was a whole learning thing. Well, yeah, we learned a lot, but it also it was also one of those things. I tried, it didn't work. Okay, great. And it was a failure. And I'm okay with that. So that's what happened in the very first one. But then the next chapter 3, was begin again. So how could we actually do this? Now, one of the things that we learned is that we need the structure. We definitely need the structure. So what we decided to do was, Rev is she has design thinking is her background. And so what she said is, we can just use a design sprint. And it was like, wow, design sprints, that's really cool. So she is, because she's she is a certified design sprint facilitator. She took us through this particular process to use a design sprint. The only thing is, we had to kind of find a cause to work on. And so, as I was fortunate enough to kind of stumble upon, and this is what happens to me, my angels and guides come to me. I was in our local community in Brooklyn. There was a community festival that was happening. And so the person I met there was a community, she has a community garden, and she basically had some specific challenges she was dealing with. And so I was talking to her about her challenges. Like, she's a beautiful person. I was talking about all our challenges, and I said, "Hey, would you like to kind of like work with a group of volunteers across the world to kind of like work on one of your problems?" And she's like, "Sure." So we started off doing some work with her. And so this is the method, we call it the SIP method. So the design sprint itself, by the way, usually is a week long, a 4-day process. And in the design sprint, it's based on Google. It's Google's design sprint is what we're using. But so it is done within a full week, or 4 days to 5 days within a corporation. And usually in most corporations, and when I saw it at TELUS way back when, it's amazing the stuff that they can do within 4 or 5 days. Um, and we would get a collection of people together to work on a specific problem or challenge. And at the end of the 5 days, a prototype would actually be created, so that we could actually figure out the next steps that we needed to take for that particular problem or challenge. So what we did, because we know that what we're working with is these passionate leaders with a cause. They typically, most of most of the causes that we're working with right now, they are people who have part-time work, or they're part-time people, or they work full-time, and their passion, right, like the community garden, is sort of like a part-time job for them. So they have full-time work and a part-time job. So it's usually after hours, right, that or they support that particular cause. So we really can't spend a full week with them. So we utilized the mentorship program that I've done in the past, and we said, okay, great, we're just going to do this over 3 months. And so what we did is we took the 32 hours of volunteering, we did it over a 3-month period, and we went through this process where we would first do talk to the community. We would ask all the subject matter experts. They're out there with that specific challenge. So that would be the first thing that we would do, is empathize with the community, gather the information, understand what the challenge is, define the specific challenge. We would then, after we have that challenge in place, we would ideate and create solutions. So as a group, as a team, we would come together and figure out what are the different possible ideas that we would have to solve this particular challenge. Then we prototype and test that particular solution, and then we would afterwards we would iterate or implement that particular solution, or pivot to something totally different. At the very end of this, by the way, usually we would give reports back to those particular leaders, the passionate, we call them the passionate community leader, and so that they had all the data that was required to actually to figure out they needed to do next for that specific problem or challenge. So great, we've got this particular SIP process in place. We've got this one specific community that we're working with, and so they're at the very bottom. It's the Whitby Ajax Garden Project was the first one we worked with, but then now Houston, we've got liftoff. So we have a process. We work with the Whitby Ajax Garden. We've got a prototype with them. Now we're working with all these other communities. So we're working with Latino communities, and we're working with Women in Agile as well. And currently we're working with a farmer community, which is just fantastic. So as I was saying before, we create prototypes at the very end of our specific design sprint, or our SIPs. And so what we end up doing, like for the community garden, the very first thing that we did was their challenge was, we need more volunteers, right? They didn't have enough volunteers for their specific community garden. They needed more help with the cleanup. Usually most people kind of leave, like they put their hands up to be volunteers, and they're in the planting portion of the community garden, but usually around July frame, a lot of them leave. So there's a definite decline that kind of goes down. That wasn't the only problem or challenge that this particular person had. They also had lost like 3 directors out of the 5 directors they have as a group that runs the whole project itself. So it's really challenging for her to kind of like take care of the volunteers and also run the organization. And so, but as a group, we picked this particular project. How can we help them get more volunteers? And what we designed was actually a flyer. The flyer itself has 3 different courses. So it's for beginners, it's for kids, it's for advanced gardeners. And what we felt, which is really cool, because as Agilists, we understand what culture's like. So we understand that culture is super, super important, right? In order to kind of like create a nourishing environment that's inviting enough for people to come in and join. And so when we were designing this is one of the things that we're looking at. How can we get people to come to the specific garden so that they can see what's going on, and then therefore they can volunteer their time for it as well. So that was sort of, this is a first step in terms of getting the volunteers there. So it was really cool. They did get more volunteers. So it was pretty exciting to be able to give that. By the way, the group of people that were on that specific project, the very first one, we had like about 7 or so people. And we have people from all over the world. And most of the people didn't have any experience with gardening. So it was super, super cool. Even the person that created the flyer, he had no experience with gardening, but he did have a lot of agility experience, which is kind of neat. The second one that we actually created was actually a mini website. So we have this group called Not Working to Networking, and it's a Latin American community. And this particular community, their challenge was like they wanted to be able to help newcomers get jobs, right? And but their challenge was is they had something that was really good. Actually, maybe it's not a challenge, but it's more of an opportunity. They had a product that was really, really cool and really good, and so it was working. People were networking, so it's they knew they sort of like had this way of connecting with people to help them get jobs or help them on their pathway of getting jobs, which was great. They didn't have anything on a website or anything like that, so people who are going to the events were kind of confused as to what they did or didn't do. And what this particular community wanted to do is they wanted to give them more. They wanted to give them like the like almost like this professional first aid kit there. It's in the center. Like, how can we help you with your resume? How can we help you with, with your English? How can we help you with, dot, dot, dot. So we had huge amounts of ideas that went into this particular mini website, which was great to kind of help improve and provide them more services that they can provide to their particular community. But the really cool thing, the most amazing thing that we actually found out as we went through this, other than that people loved the website because now they knew what the community does. But the really cool thing that kind of came out of it was um, there was a disconnect in the actual volunteer board. And if you, I mean, as activists, we have this in our organizations. People get disconnected as to what's our vision. Is it this or it's this? The vision of this particular community, or in the board itself was two visions. One was we get people jobs, we help them get a job. And the other half was no, we help them on their pathway of getting a job. So what we did is we actually revealed that in the report itself as we went through it. And basically that was one of the first steps that they took from what we gave them to align their particular board, which is super, super cool. And we're really excited to be able to help them with that because some of the people are going to their community were confused, which causes other challenges because they don't know exactly what they're getting from the community. So it worked out really well. And the last one is we had a group of communities, Latino communities that we're working with, and we wanted to create something that would bring all the communities together and the newcomers together and HR recruiters together to help newly immigrated Latinos in Canada get jobs. And so we created a news flyer for them, which is it didn't work out in the end. It's not something they actually took. It's not something they learned that this isn't something they wanted, which was a really cool thing, which led to something else, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But those are the three types of prototypes that came out of these particular ones. And it's been amazing to be able to give the reports, be able to help these leaders with a cause so that they can move forward to do the next thing that they need to do to support their specific cause. So as we were going through this with this, we actually kind of like formed the SIPsters, and here's the Meet the SIPsters team. So we kind of like myself, Arev, Pam, Carrie, and John. So it's really cool because this particular group has we have backgrounds in education, design thinking, sustainability. Pam is from Peru. She has tons of sustainability experience that she's worked on too. Carrie has her PhD in education. She works really well in education. And John is also in that. So we all have Agile as sort of like that, sort of like go between all of us and sustainability. And John is an Agile coach, and he's actually doing, regenerative work in Mexico right now, which is really, really cool. So it's pretty exciting. And so here's some of the things. So as we lift off, we start producing artifacts, right? So great. Now we're promoting, we're sharing, and as you go through this particular step, you also go through an emotional journey. And we have her, and this is, by the way, exactly what the teams kind of go through as we go through to kind of like give the particular prototype. But we use this as ways of kind of like talking to volunteers and showing them this is the experience that you're going to have. It's not going to be so great as we go through it. And sometimes it's going to be great, sometimes it's not going to be so great, but this is what you're going to experience as you go through the whole thing. And then we actually started to kind of like identify here are the different things that we need as part of the team: facilitators, subject matter experts, a decider person, in a core group. And we, from our perspective, we know that two facilitators are always required as we go through these things, which is important. The decider is really important. Yeah, so there's lots of things that we've learned as we went through it, and so we've started to create some artifacts as to how it works and what are some of the things that work well. And so this is where we started going, okay, this is great. We got some, we got artifacts, we know what we need to do. We're actually learning. And now we have to kind of figure out how where do we take this to, right? So this is our go big or go home kind of part of this story. And so our vision, like once we had that one kind of going, we started to hit on, we want to have 10,000 of these worldwide. Because if we can do these particular SIPs worldwide, and in our local communities, for example, like if I can help my local community garden, which isn't too far away from me, it would be amazing, right? If we can just get, this volunteer time, the 32 hours, a cause, a person with a cause, a leader with a cause. We come together, we produce a particular prototype for them. It gives them information as to what to do next. What we do, by the way, is more than just planting trees or working in a soup kitchen or helping out. And those are great ways of kind of helping out. What we found is that the volunteers that are working with us want to do more. So they're professional volunteers that want to make a difference. So we have the agile coaches, we have the project managers, we have the engineers, we have the software developer from Nigeria, right? And she's awesome, and she's a green software developer. And so we have all these people all over the world who want to be able to kind of get their hands in and try and make a difference, right? And do something a little bit more creative together to help these people with a cause. Because the one thing that we're seeing is that some of these volunteers have no place to kind of put their time in to make a difference. And we also, so we provide that specific space for them. And then for some of the actual passions, the leaders with a cause, they just don't have a specific group that can support them with that, right? Support them with any opportunity or challenge that they have to move them further. So we come in and we can kind of help that. So I like to look at the stuff that we do is with the mom and pops of sustainability. And when I say sustainability, by the way, it's social, economic, and environmental. So it's not just climate. So we can help in any of those particular spaces, and especially those people that aren't funded hugely, right? That have very little funds. So basically, it works really well for them when we can come in there and give them a hand as well. So when we start to look at how we could do 10,000 of these worldwide and hopefully get them local, we decide, okay, we want 10,000 of these local SIPs. We want we want to make this global impact where we're working with academia, we're working with corporations, we're working with communities. We wanted to create a global SIP community where we'd have all these facilitators come together, because if there's 10,000 of these worldwide, we have all these facilitators in a place for them to hold space. And we also want to grow some of these passionate leaders with the cause. So we all are agilists. We have ways of helping and supporting the leaders. And so we also wanted to be able to do that. So we have this big, huge strategy, right, which requires money and grants and so forth. And so, steps towards this dream, right? We got tons of steps, right? So for me, I wanted to go and meet my local region, which is called Durham Region. In the town of Whitby, we're part of what's called Durham Region, and so I wanted to go out over and talk to them about what they do for sustainability. What does my local community do? So I met with them. I gave a presentation to their sustainability society. It was pretty interesting. Like if you were talking to your specific local government or local community government, it's really interesting what they are doing within their community, what they think their role is, and how to get involved, or how they involve the community itself. In our specific community, this sustainability society, all they do is they give advice. They don't initiate projects within the community, or initiate. Sorry, they have projects that they do within the community, but those communities align with the town and what the town wants to do. Beyond that, it's only based on what the town wants to do and nothing with directly with the group of people in the community, for example. So it's really interesting to kind of tap into and figure out how the actual region works, and to figure out, like for me, I have a local MP who is amazing, and that I want to work with more because he's very much aligned to social innovation, and he does a lot of work in sustainability and community. So he seems to be a great fit for me, which I'm hoping to kind of reach out to him and figure out what else we can do. We also went out and met with academia, right? So this is where I met David at an Ontario Tech event, and it was really cool to be able to reach out and talk to a lot of the professors there and figure out what we do. And so right now, one of the professors in Ontario Tech has agreed to kind of run one of the SIPs within Ontario Tech. So if you remember Carrie, she has her PhD in education. She was very much like, well, if we want to get 10,000 of these up and going, we need to get into academia, because if we can help the academia do it, which is I'd love to be able to work with kids, and university students or college students would be amazing to be able to work with. So I have four girls of my own, and I just think that, I feel a huge amount for these guys who are in school right now, because they're uh, they're trying to do something. They're trying to make a difference in this world. They're trying to help with sustainability, but sometimes they're trapped in terms of what to do next. So what we actually do can help them roll up the sleeves and actually work within community and work with some of these small mom and pop stores, to kind of help them further their cause. So we're lucky enough to kind of work with someone in Ontario Tech. We also met with Durham College and York University. We enlisted in a grant writer. So we have this amazing grant writer that he just walked the line, found us, and we found him. And so it was so cool. So he's given us a list of grants that we can actually go after. This is such a cool thing just to share with a bunch of people is, and I never thought I'd ever get into grants, right? People, it's just like, hello. But again, background of my story is I don't mind kind of like going into the unknowns. Okay, let's do grants, right? So, but what I find is so incredibly cool about this is there isn't that many collaborative grants. Grants are usually set up for that solo entrepreneur, but not set up for a collaborative group of people working together. And that's where we want to get to. We want to be able to get to that. So Trillium Fund in Canada has some collaboration grants, which is really cool. And I know NSERT does as well, but it's really interesting. There's not a lot of these collaborative grants, which is something I think we need to kind of maybe change a little bit more. So yeah, so I've been researching grants in Durham region and around the world and what it looks like. We've trained new facilitators, and we created a community of facilitators. So all of this has really kind of helped kind of support the specific dream, right? And another thing that we did is a sipathon. So sipathon is it's sort of like an I idea generator. So we were talking about earlier how that newsletter didn't work really well. And so that newsletter didn't work really well for this particular group of associations. They really wanted to kind of like come up with more ideas, and how, within their specific community, they want to figure out exactly if there was they want to use the community to help ideate with more of these ideas to help with Latin Americans get jobs in Canada. And so what ended up happening is we just put a 1-day session together. 90 people signed up for it. We had a storm that day, which wasn't so great. And we had actually 35 people come to it, which is really great. So we still have quite a few people. We had like 6 different ideas which actually came out of it, which is really great. And 3 of them, which they're actually going to be, this particular group of associations are going to be working on over the next month or two. So pretty excited to be able to do that with them. And we want to be able to hold more of these because for us, it's about like if from an agile perspective, it's actually showcasing some of the stuff that we can do from an agility perspective. It showcases what SIPs can do, and it allows us to be in the room facilitating some of these really cool things with these people, which I miss in the room training, that's for sure. And yeah, so it turned out really, really great. And now we have a bunch of it was an idea generator, which allowed us to kind of uh, you know, figure out what we need to do next, which is really, really good. Can I pause here? Does anybody have any questions? I just went through so much. Anybody have any questions of any of the chapters so far?
I do. I do.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So, well, first of all, like you're speaking about this with a passion, and I can't help but find myself kind of like drawn in, right? And I
Yeah.
love the concept that you have this vision, and then you're forging through and leveraging your volunteers. And when somebody volunteers for something, like they're passionate about the cause. And so I find sometimes volunteers get more done because it comes out of a place of like passion, right? Um, so how do you find your volunteers? How do volunteers find you?
Yeah, so what I did was just mainly on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, I would go out, we would do a call for volunteers. Any events that we would go to, we would call for volunteers. And so well, I have a QR code at the very end. But the majority of time we'll just call for volunteers, and a lot of them want to be able to support, want to help, which is we're really lucky about. We also we recognize that the very first the passion of people who want to volunteer, it's amazing, right? It's beautiful. A lot of people want to be able to give their time for the causes. A challenge sometimes is that they're also giving to their own cause, and they're spread really, really thin. And anybody who's in the sustainability side, it gets spread really thin really quickly. I know I feel it for myself with all the work that we've been doing. And so in a very first step that we did, we had quite a few people that were doing other causes at the same time. And I think they were there, some I think might have been there just to kind of figure out how specifically they could apply it to their cause, which is great. But the thing is, they were in and out a lot, so it made it really hard. So what we had to do is we had to draw a line, a commitment line. So we tell everybody, you can come for the first 2 or so meetings or whatever, but when we get to ideation is the point in time where, you're committed and you're here until the very end. And so when you look at I was going to, you saw probably an emotional journey that was there. That was the emotional journey that we show everybody just to make sure that you guys understand. I go, you're going to think this is crazy. How can we potentially do it? But this is the emotional journey. But here's the line where you have to say, it's the line where you can opt out if you want to. That's no problem. And recommit to us. And then afterwards, you're committed to the very end. And so the 3 sips that we've done so far has had, we started off with like 7 or so, 8 or so people, and we'll get down to 5 in the end, which is still a good good group of size of people. The current SIP that we have has a bunch of product owners, which is really cool, and not nobody has left. So I don't know if it's like 8 or 9 people that are in that right now. So it's so super cool. And I think they're just really curious, or they just, they care about the cause. I don't know, but it's just absolutely amazing to see. Yeah. Any other
Wonderful.
questions? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody has any questions, you can always like raise your hand in person or maybe using the commands down below. Okay, so my camera actually is giving me some grief. So Joanne, I am so sorry. I don't mean to go dark on you. Can I ask another question?
Sure. Sure. Go ahead.
So you were talking about most grants are kind of like, they're offered to sole recipients, but you also mentioned collaborative grants. I'm not
Yes.
quite sure. I mean, like I'm thinking if it's not solo, it's collaborative, but can you talk a little bit more about that? Is it something that can be spread among different organization? Do they have to have a common thread?
Yeah, the collaborative grants, they're usually coming together to kind of like so I guess the more common ones are the insert grants. So the research grants where you work with another partner to kind of like help research this specific problem or challenge. So the
Mm-hmm.
grant will state like we have there's a Seed and Grow Trillion grant that's for community. And if you're helping, so what the government's trying to do is there's always a reason why the government putting these grants together, whether or not it's helping, bring out more stronger communities, healthier communities that this one grant is about. It's about let's build healthier communities and help the community thrive more, right? So the grant will be about have a certain theme. And when you read through it, you'll see that this is a collaborative grant where it requires multiple communities that are working partners, not for profits working together to support it. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah. And so, but a lot of the other ones are not. So they're just like, we're looking for food insecurity is a very big thing here. When I say that, it's a big thing. I mean, there's a trend right now where we're seeing more and more people are going to the food bank and in this region and probably across a lot of Ontario. So we're starting to see some more of that happening. I'm sure this is happening in the world, but food insecurity is a big thing. So people are looking for the governments are looking for very innovative ideas in terms of supporting food insecurity. So they go towards individual groups for that more so than they do collaborative. But there is collaborative grants that are there that people can go after, but the majority of the grants are usually for independent, not for profit or for profit companies. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
You're
explaining
welcome.
that.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So,
Have a
Raquel
quick
has raised her.
question, Joanne.
Yeah, sure.
Um, I hear you saying that you the approach is to be getting grants that include um collaboration. But there's something in my head thinking, is there a form of probably a proposal that needed to be done initially, especially when you're talking to your local leaders? For instance, if they have it in mind or looking for that collaboration somewhere or someone to take that on. Is there that extra step that is sometimes needed before you go into the grant and etc.?
Yeah, well, right now the first collaborative step for us is doing the SIP, right? So when we do SIPs and stuff like that, it allows people to kind of get a feel for what we do.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, and the next step is actually like for us to scale and do this across the world and share our resources and to hit 10,000. Like our hope really is if we hit 10,000 and we get grants, we're able to give some of this money back to some of these specific people with a cause, right? Like that's what
Okay.
we'd really like to be able to do. For those people that we can help, we can actually kind of give it to them. It's so but for us to first start we're starting small with the SIPs, we're testing that out, but eventually we are going to need a little bit more. So um to find people who are willing to do that collaboration, there's a lot of people that are in community that want to do it, but I think it's the same thing as any agile transformation that we're trying to do. Like if we can partner with someone else within the corporation, it's always really great, right? But then there's
Okay.
some people that it's not my thing. I don't want to do that thing. I'm like, it's totally, I want to do this other thing instead. So for me right now, this is my experience within the Durham region, for example, and the town of Whitby, is trying to find people, trying to figure out how the system works, right? Like how does this system work? and then figure out how I can collaborate with others to do this specific thing. At the same time, I'm also trying to figure out, well, what do I have? Like, what product or service do I have that I can offer them that's going to help them? And the biggest thing that they have as an issue and challenge within the Durham region, for example, is engaging in community. So they don't have a way of really engaging community or engaging volunteers usually. So if I was to come back with them and say, hey, I can help you with engaging, and I did tell them that, that then they have a way of kind of utilizing me and helping them out. But the only thing that they can give us is community grants, which isn't a huge amount of money for the stuff that we're looking at, right? So we're still trying to figure out. I mean, it's not about money for us. I mean, there's an aspect about money. It is, yes, but we're not trying to create a profit here. We're just trying to like be able to pay the people and stuff like that, so we can continue to keep doing this great work. And that's the part where we're trying to do. And then to be able to help other Agilists to be able to do the same thing is so cool. So we're here to share everything that we've done. So if other people want to start doing that, please do, right? Which will be great. Okay. Any other question, Raquel? Okay, cool. So chapter 7, we failed again. Yeah, failure. Yeah. And I think that this whole thing is big, huge strategy. We went huge strategy. Oh, 10,000, we can go to all these educational places. We can go talk to all these universities in the States and in Canada. We can figure out how to do it. We have grants. We got to go into our local community. We're trying to figure out how we get involved in the community. We're trying to get more causes. We're trying to get volunteers. We're doing way too much. We're doing way too much. So we're really spreading ourselves way, way, way too thin. And so this is, but in from my personal perspective, this is the best lesson ever. Best lesson ever. So what I've had to actually do is actually kind of like, believe me, I had like us as Agilists, we know this, we love stickies. So I had like thousands of stickies in my office, like huge amounts of stickies everywhere. So I had to basically drop all these stickies, I just filed them all away, put them in an envelope, just, maybe sometime later file. And so, and now take a step back, right? So we did do a lot of, like, I do feel that we started doing way too many things all at the same time. We're hoping all these things would happen. We're hoping we'd have all these specific causes. We had about 5 or so causes that we were looking at last year. Not all of them kind of came to fruition. We did get causes, that's for sure. There's a lot of work in terms of trying to advertise, promote, find causes and stuff like that. I find that the best way of finding causes is actually just talking to people who are passionate, right? We are working with a community it's called the Effective Altruism Community in Sweden. So we have some people we know there who are also working with people in North America and South America. So it's in Europe. So it's really cool. So there's great opportunities to find others who are actually doing this. And this is with another person who is an Agilist and he heads up Agile for Good. And so he's doing some amazing stuff there. So now we're working together to see how we can actually make SIPs work in that specific group as well. So we haven't stopped. We haven't completely said, no, this is it. We're not going to be doing this. We haven't reached 10,000, definitely not. And I really wanted to reach 10,000 by the end of this year. Well, we have some time, but it's going to be a lot of work to kind of keep pushing it forward to there. So we have to kind of like look at everything that we've done, everything that we learned since the beginning of year. And we need to get to the next chapter, which is making sense of it all. So what we're doing now is we're actually meeting as a group. in a few weeks, May 18th, and just look at all the data that we have. Like what happened when we went to the schools? What happened when we went to this community? What happened when we set up all the facilitators? So we trained about 6 facilitators. 3 are actually in Australia, and 3 are in North America. So we've got 2 of the facilitators up and running, but the other 4 are not, right? So we have to kind of really look at how is this working? Like when we brought all this community of facilitators together, that's wonderful. We got it going, but I feel it's not working as well as we could. So let's take a look at it all and figure out what we need to do next. And this is a gift, right? This is a gift of what we have as Agilists. Like we're eating our own dog food, right? Like, it's like, we have these specific, when things get kind of crazy, right? It's okay, let's just stand back. Let's stand back, stop, pause, take a break, right? Figure out what you need to do next, right? So, we've got some ideas of what we can potentially do. I still feel that SIPs are a great way of progressing forward. It does take a while. It takes 3 months to kind of like get a SIP going and to get the results. So it's an amazing thing you can do at the side of your desk. And I still think it's a great thing to be able to do. And I think it's a great way of initiating and helping these people who have a cause, who are like the mom and pop stores of sustainability all over the place, so we can help them, that's for sure. But for me, I'm curious, do we have a product, do we have a service, like do we have a thing that we can offer to the Durham College or University of Ontario Tech, which is just down the street from me, by the way. It's only like 15 minutes away, or another university, I don't know what it is, but can we kind of like work with them to collaborate within the local community around food insecurity? Like what could we potentially do to bring in collaborate with a bunch of different projects that are going on and create this collaborative type of effort, right? Where a collective group of leaders will come together to decide as to what they need to do and share their different perspectives from each other. So one of the things that we're really good at as Agilists as well as systems thinkers, we can see the entire system, right? So we can see, that if the food bank doesn't want more food, and the community garden wants to give more food to the food bank, right? But the food bank just wants to teach people how to grow their own food, right? Or figure out other ways that they don't need a food bank. Like there's a disconnect between the two. They're both great things that they're doing, but there's a disconnect in the system. So, if we can bring all these people in the system together and bring all the people that are trying to change the system, then maybe potentially we can take a look at it and see and sense what else we can potentially do, which I think will be a worthwhile thing for us to be able to do. And we're community builders, so we love building community. We love working with community. So we think community is a big thing, and we want to support the community and their cause, right? So, and then figuring out how to get funding, still don't know. That's a big question mark for me. No clue, but I do know that I'm going to have to go back to work because this has been a huge amount of my time over this last year. I've been enjoying it thoroughly, but eventually, we need funding. So, and that will be something that will happen. I know it'll happen, that's for sure. But I think it's it's the turtle that wins the race, right? So it's just slow and steady, right? We just need to be slow and steady as we go through this and create as it goes. I know we need to make a big change now, but if we push ourselves too hard, we get into what I just got into, which is like our whip limit was too big. We're getting into burnout. So yeah. So I think that's the last part of the chapter, but there is a to be continued chapter, probably chapter 9. That will happen. So that's sort of that's basically the presentation. And if like you want to, we are looking for causes. So if anyone does have a cause or you want to volunteer, or you just want to keep in touch, if you want to be part of the newsletters that I create and has a bunch of the stuff that's in there, you can send, you can just scan that QR code and fill in that information. You can also go to our website to see the reports and the other work that we've done. You can link in with me as well. And I'll give you one other thing, which I think I'll stop sharing. I'll give you one other thing, which I think is a cool thing, which is the We Help magazine, which is a really cool for planet.com. We-hope. That's the website, which isn't a clickable link right now, but but that's that. So yeah, so I'm now looking at the time. It's 50 minutes that I've just gone through. Is there any more questions?
Yeah, Joanne, with volunteers, like I totally get, everybody starts gung ho and then afterwards it's kind of like, they, for whatever reason, they start dropping off, but it's important to get their commitment because at the end of the day, right? Like if you're going to do something, you need to commit to it. Typically speaking though, what kind of time commitment do you like? What is that tipping point for you and your projects? What kind of time commitment do you need somebody to commit for? How many
So for
hours a week?
yeah, so thank you. So the volunteers themselves, it's 32 hours. Yeah, it's a 32 hour. So and it's usually 2 hours every week and a couple of weekends that we do it in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
So
32 hours, not a week, but a month. Okay.
it's a couple months. It's over a couple of months. Yeah.
Over
And
a
so
couple of
we're
months.
still, yeah, we can do it within a week. We can do it over a couple of weekends if we wanted to. Like there's different things that we've done, but the SIPs that we've done so far have been over 3 months. Yeah. So
Okay. And another thing is because like I'm hoping like some of the people on this call here might be passionate enough to actually join the cause. Do you, considering that you're trying to be flexible with the volunteers and their hours to a certain degree, do you have some sort of a cadence? Like, you meet on this night or that night.
yeah. The group always will come together and they'll always meet like on a Monday night. Like for example, the carob farms that's going on right now, they meet on a Monday night. So they have a designated night that they meet, and then a couple of weekends that they'll like I said, they'll work on the weekend. They'll figure out exactly that specific time. Together they'll do that. Yeah. That's so what we do too, Saba, is we do an orientation session to kick it off first before we go any further so people understand what they're getting into. So we
Right.
always make sure that people like if you're like, and I love doing that too, where I just kind of go, oh, I send out a note to go and do orientation sessions. So I'll do 3 orientation sessions before we kick it off. And usually within 3, we'll find the volunteers because we're not looking for 100. We're only looking for like 7 or 9 or whatever, and we know that a few people will drop off. But in those orientation sessions, we'll go talk to them about what the experience is going to be like, what the commitment is like, and then they can say yes or no. And so that's where I think it's really important to kind of be able to explain that to your volunteers so they know that what they're getting into. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Your passion really does come through. Thank you so much. I knew this was going to be a great talk.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Any other questions? Did you get what you wanted from it? I don't know. Like, did David get what he wanted to know about what agility is and how we put it in there? I'm not sure if you got it all, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that's out there. Like if you want to know more about agility and what we've done the Agilist for Planet, We Hope magazine is where all these great stories are. The next, by the way, the next version of it we're just working on right now is around regenerative action. So which is really cool. So it talks about one of the new economies that are out there, which is regeneration, and circular economy and donut economy is touched on too. So it's really cool. So you get to see how we bring the planet into the work that we do as Agilists, which is nice.
Love the acronym. If when you were deciding on a name though, like sustainability incubator, like I'm curious about where the incubator part came in.
Because it's just it's a fishbowl, kind of like 32 hours of, coming up with an idea. That's how we came up with this SIP. Yeah. But there is, by the way, and from when you're looking in sustainability in that world, there's a lot of incubator projects, a lot of innovative labs that are out there, by the way. So we're not alone in terms of the people that are doing innovation labs, but we are different in terms of the type of work that we're doing, that's for sure. Yeah. But now we've got a not-for-profit set up, and it's called 10,000 Fresh Starts.
Yay. Yay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's just I tell you, like this is such a wonderful, wonderful cause, and I love what you're doing, and I really admire you so much for doing it. It's not easy, but it's very rewarding.
Definitely is. Yeah, definitely is. It isn't easy. It isn't. But then I like to try on new things, play new games, figure out how this is going to work, right? So no fear in the
Venturing
unknown.
into the unknown.
Exactly. Exactly. It's scary, but yeah, it's okay. It works well. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I just want to really appreciate you, Saba and Ali, for allowing the time and space, and everyone else here for listening to me. I so appreciate you all being here and